Tommy Jagai of Fansided here with inspirational speaker and former fullback of the Pittsburgh Steelers, Merrill Hodge. Merrill, how's it going today?
Tommy, great, brother. Good to be with you.
Tell me what you got going on here. Where do we start? I look at all this stuff in front of you now. Tell me what's going on here.
Well, Tommy, we're going to start. I'm going to throw you a curveball, but this is critical for a game day. The Boveda humidor is a must-have, especially if you enjoy cigars. It's the perfect cigar storage. The humidor with a patent of two-way humidity control and sleek design for just $2.99. It requires no maintenance, unlike conventional humidors. This humidor comes with a one-time seasoning to get you going for 6 months, and comes with an auto replenishment option. And then you got to have food, you got to have great dips, and Hellmann's and snacks. Well, they help you bring the whole thing together. People come for those snacks, especially the dip. Having great dip is critical, like Hellmann's disappearing buffalo chicken dip. The secret ingredient is Hellmann's mayonnaise. Get the recipe at hellmanns.com. And here's where Hellmann's stands out from the others. Hellmann's does not get oily or separate. It holds up through heat and time, and it stays craveable from kickoff to the final snap, which is about 3 to 4 hours, so that's vital. And then Borden cheese. Comfort foods unite us all. My favorite is make your own grilled cheese bar. Add things like meat, onions, avocados. The key is to get creative. And in a recent grill cheese survey, 1 of 4 Americans prefer using mayonnaise instead of butter to grill their cheese crust. And this room was actually 2 for 2. So who doesn't like a grilled cheese with Borden American cheese melts? You add Borden jalapeno, it's better with Borden. And then you got to watch the TV. So this LG OLED line is up to 83 inches. That's a 48-inch. And the secret play of the day, ice cream cake. The Carville Game Ball Cake. These cakes are available at most major grocery stores, or go to iloveicecreamcakes.com. So you got a little bit of everything, and you pull this off at your tailgate, they're coming back next time.
Oh, Merrill, you're making me hungry just looking at that stuff there.
Amen.
That's awesome. Let's talk football for a minute, if we could. Did you get a chance to watch the Steelers debut? Aaron Rodgers, 41 years old, 244 yards, 4 touchdown passes, no picks. He was as impressive as I guess we could have expected in that game. Where do you kind of see things going from here for him?
Well, listen, that's the one thing that I tried to really caution people. They got so caught up with Aaron Rodgers outside the white lines versus inside the white lines. Inside the white lines, he's been as elite as any quarterback in the history of our game, and he still has that eliteness, and obviously put that on display. And he put it on display without really having other phases to your offense that you need. Like, they didn't run the football very well. They didn't stop the run very well. So when you do that, your quarterback, is going to have to play pretty exceptional, which he did. But that all being said, if they don't get the turnover, they still probably don't win that game. And so they got a lot of things that they got to clean up. Their defensive line and offensive line in those areas, they have to play better. Just to win a championship, you're going to have to. Because I tell you this, every Super Bowl that I've ever studied, the offensive defensive lines, the team who wins it, that's where they played their best. And they're going to have to play better there. Aaron Rodgers is going to be consistent, and he's even going to be better the better that all those phases are. So I think there's serious upside to this team. It'll be interesting to see how the next 2 weeks unfold, because the opponents they play are like the Jets. They like to run the football, and they're pretty good at stopping it. So we'll see what kind of improvements they've made.
Yeah, and Merrill, you talk about the running game. Obviously, you know a lot about that, playing running back, playing fullback. They couldn't get anything going on the ground, and I think we have to point to the guys up front. It starts with the guys up front. If they're not containing their responsibilities, it's really hard to get any movement, and that's what we saw from Jaylen Warren, Kenneth Gainwell, Caleb Johnson on his lone carry. Just nothing going on the ground. Like, what has to work right in order to get this running game off the ground?
Well, even as a player, and then it evolved into an analyst, like, the number one killer in the running game is penetration. Like, you have to get movement at the line of scrimmage or where the ball is initially going to give your back a chance. And they struggled with that as a group. It's not any one individual. And the running game is, really 5-6 guys, because tight ends are a critical component of this, of working together. And every time, not every time, but a majority of the time, the point of attack where they were going, they just didn't win. And keep in mind, the Jets have a pretty good front seven. They got some defensive line that can wreck things, but everybody's going to have that. So you're going to have to do better up front. What I thought was most noticeable is they didn't work well together. They seemed that they were thinking through things versus You're really being instinctive and reacting. So we'll see if that doesn't improve this week. You're going to work on that. It's not going to be all solved in a week, but hopefully, and they'll need to have a better outing against Seattle, because Seattle's defensive line is pretty good. Their box players might be a little better than the Jets, so this is a big test.
Yeah, I know we're only one game into this, Merril, too. We can kind of see, I mean, things didn't go the way that we expected. Obviously, 66 total points in that first game. Are you concerned about Pittsburgh's defense the way that it looks at all right now?
A little bit. And that concern goes right. Listen, I've always believed the better you are, closer to the ball, the better you're going to be as an overall team. And we got blown off the ball from our nose guy to our ends to our outside backers. You know, I mean, we just didn't win close to the ball at really any one time. And that was a little concerning because, you know, to lose a few times, I mean, that's just the way it is. I mean, you walk in to go, there's going to be 60 snaps. We hope we win 40, 45. We got to win, or not hope, we got to win 45 to win the game. Okay, we can't lose 45 of those snaps and only win 15. Here's what I'm getting at. And there was nothing in the running game that was real positive from a defensive line perspective. And that includes everybody. It's not just one guy. So that probably made it more disturbing that, you know, there wasn't one guy that even was able to stand his ground. So, you know, they kind of have a similar situation where they're going to have to do, you know, some evaluations of techniques and how they're going about playing it. And you can do some things scheme-wise. You know, people think of blitzing as a passing deal. You know, actually, a lot of teams will run blitz, you know, but they often do that when they're struggling up front, and that's not the most sound way to do it because, like, I'm going to tell you from our perspective offensively, if we know you're run blitzing, all we know is that you might get outside your gap because you're run blitzing and we get the one guy pinned, then we get big runs. You know, there's bigger runs off of those things, but they can blow things up too. So we'll have to see what they do scheme-wise and just improvement-wise in this week's game.
Yeah, absolutely. And I mean, we got a long season ahead of us, kind of some winnable games coming up here, Merril, and then the season gets a little bit tougher as it goes on. Could you give us a Steelers maybe record prediction this year? How far do you think they're going to go?
Well, listen, I never say every game is winnable. It's easy. As a player, I'll give you an example. I think we played the Patriots. I think they were 0-10. They came into Pittsburgh. We beat them on a 4th and 1. They were on the 1 yard line and we stuffed them with like 1 second left and we win the game. I remember we got in the locker room and we're like, how is that team 0-11 now? I'm like, they were like one of the toughest teams that we played all year. So I'm just sensitive to saying, you know, this is a winnable game. And keep in mind, that's only going off how they played last year. There's some teams that are not going to play as good this year as they played last year, or some teams that are playing better than they played last year. So I never say that. I never look at that. Let's put it this way. If you don't improve in the areas that they struggled with, I mean, you're lucky if you're 9-8 or 8-9. If they get better in those areas, I think this team, you know, might have caught lightning in a bottle, especially with, you know, the play of Aaron Rodgers and DK Metcalf, you know, some guys that have some really, I mean, they're elite and they bring some professionalism to help your team, and some of the players that they've brought in. So that's going to be the biggest difference. Is what we see in the next couple weeks is really going to set the tone for the type of team that they really are going to be.
Yeah, I couldn't agree more. Can't take any of those games lightly. Merril, you showed us all the amazing food that you have, tailgating here, getting ready for football. We're excited. We're pumped. We're ready to see how this goes. We'll see if those predictions come true. And thanks for joining us today. Appreciate it.
My pleasure. Thanks, Tommy.